Yo, what is going on guys, Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on The Flash, most specifically The Flash Season 7. So obviously we have wrapped up The Flash's 7th season and we are heading into The Flash Season 8, which they have actually started filming recently, but The Flash Season 7 was not very well received. I personally think that it's the worst season of The Flash. I know a lot of people say Season 5 is the worst, but Season 7 has a lot of issues, from writing to lack of screen time of the main character, to the structure of the season with the interlude, to logic issues, and worst of all, the dialogue. So I wanted to give you guys my own version of The Flash Season 7. So me, Arrowverse Scenes, and I know I'm going to butcher his last name, so I'm not going to say it, I'll just say his first name, but my friend Jordan worked together on this and we produced a What If I Wrote The Flash Season 7. All of their links will be in the description down below if you guys want to check their channels out. But we basically produced our version of The Flash Season 7. Some of the episodes we just completely rewrote, but some of them we only made some slight changes and added some cool stuff. For other episodes we just changed the order of the episodes to fit the story a lot better. But the two graphic novels we are keeping the same. We still have the Forces storyline and the Godspeed storyline as the two parts of the season, but trust me guys, a lot is different. But before I go over anything, however, you guys don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. Okay, so we didn't really want to change anything for the first 3 episodes since that's the season 6 storyline, but one change we wanted to do was for episode 3, and we made it so Allegra leaves Team Flash as she feels guilty for Nash's death, and she leaves with Ralph and Sue during the ending scene of episode 3, and we just did that because she doesn't really add anything to the story for the Forces storyline or the Godspeed storyline, so we just got rid of her completely. But episode 4, titled Central City Strong. So that episode plays out as normal for the majority of the episode. We have an extra scene during the Cisco and Barry versus Abracadabra scene where we have Kadabra attacking a bunch of civilians and he is causing chaos across Central City. Barry as the Flash and Mecha Vibe begin to save all the civilians in harm's way, and this is when we have Barry saving this mystery person who does actually have a huge relevance to the story we are telling. And then we have the scene playing out as normal, so Kadabra does the trick to metacuff Barry, and then he ends up going to Argus, and then he escapes, and then Barry talks down Kadabra, and then we have Fuerz's debut. Everything from there all the way to Fuerz's debut plays out as normal. And we also did it so Frost and Caitlin never split up, because that was something I just wasn't a fan of. And for the ending scene of episode 4, we added the scene where Psyche gives Cecile a nightmare, and this is pretty much a main villain teaser for Psyche. Now episode 5 for us is going to be different. Instead of episode 5 being the Psyche episode, we made it so episode 5 is episode 6, so the one with the 90s. So the opening scene of episode 5 begins with Barry watching the clip of Fuerza, and then he then gets an alert, and then he heads to the crime scene in the middle of the city where he sees a lot of people dead. This makes Barry stressed out because Barry was unable to stop Fuerza, and now she is out there killing people without Barry being able to do anything about it. Now one change we decided to do was to make this episode the Dion and Cisco Chester episode, as this is better for our version of the storyline. Now Barry is no longer in the cryopod, instead he is tracking down Fuerza while Cisco and Chester locate someone using temporal energy, that being Dion. This will still be the episode where Team Flash established that the way they can locate these forces are through isotopic signatures, just like what they did for the original episode 5. And during the scene where time has turned and Dion basically turned time across Central City, when Team Flash are dressed up in different decades in the past, and then we have that Jitters Lady scene, Jitters Lady is about to get sliced by the Roman gladiator, instead of her being afraid by the dinosaur. But this is when we have a blue speedster Lightning running past and quickly getting her out of the way, and she's now located halfway across the city in milliseconds, and she doesn't know who moved her. She assumes it's the Flash, and this will actually play a huge role within the storyline. Not only will we begin to slowly find out who this mystery character is, but also I will explain why we chose Blue Lightning for this character as well. So episode 6 is going to be the Psyche episode. So episode 6 for us is going to be titled Fear Me. And this episode starts off with Barry getting an isotopic signature alert via Chester, and Barry heads over to the location to save the cops, who end up getting nightmares by this new Force user, which is obviously Psych. Barry goes to confront Psych, and the same things playing out in the original episode will still take place during our version of the episode. So he ends up getting nightmares of Reverse Flash and Savitar as his heart is pounding as fast as he is running due to his increased adrenaline levels through the terrifying vision he's just experienced. Speed Force Nora no longer becomes a thing, she is still a force of nature, and the majority of the episode plays out as normal. However, Cisco's nightmare is actually shown this time, with him being stuck at Star Labs all by himself in 50 years. During the final battle sequence, when everybody is getting scared due to Psyche using his powers to channel fear across the city, as Barry is about to run into the force field for the first time, a blue streak of lightning dives onto Barry, thus preventing him from getting nightmares, and this is the mystery speedster teaser for Barry. So Barry now knows that there is a mystery speedster around Central City. Once this mystery speedster saves the Flash, he will just run off directly without Barry being able to actually see his face. And we did this so Barry is just aware of another speedster being present in Central City. But Team Flash will still defeat Psyche as normal from the original version of the episode. So Cecile still uses DeVoe's chair to basically channel all those emotions, preventing Psyche's nightmares from spreading all across Central City. And then Cisco will pep talk Barry. Basically all of that will be playing out as normal. The Kramer storyline is no longer centered around Frost, but it's just that Kramer has an extreme hatred towards metahumans, and her motivations for her hating metahumans will still be the same as it played out in the original version of the show. Barry doesn't go into cryo sleep during the end of the episode, and the episode ends with a post-credit scene where we have a flashback to Mystery Person walking into CC Jitters, and as he glances up on the TV, he hears the speech Barry gives to the city during episode 4's opening scene, where he promises that they will rebuild the city stronger than ever, and where he apologizes for not being good enough to stop Eva. And as he is watching the Flash's speech, we have him have this inspired look on his face, so he's being inspired by what the Flash has been saying. Now going into episode 7 is still titled Growing Pains. However, this is a totally different episode. We still have Chillblaine, but the episode itself will not be centered around Frost, and once again, we do not have Speed Force Nora at all. So for our version of episode 7, we have an icy villain murdering people across Central City, and Barry goes and investigates the crime scenes we've seen in episode 7, where there's this like frozen truck and a bunch of dead people. Kramer's storyline plays out as normal. The only difference is that she doesn't have an extreme hatred towards Killer Frost, so she doesn't automatically assume that okay, Killer Frost is on the loose. Chillblaine will be a Flash villain this time and not a Frost plot device. The episode will be focused around Barry, Joe, and Kramer investigating who has committed these murders. So it will be them going into the bar instead of Killer Frost during the original episode. During the final battle sequence in another warehouse, Frost, who was assisting the Flash, gets knocked out by Chillblaine, so their fight scene from episode 7 still takes place, but it's in a different location, but she ends up losing the fight, but also the Flash is with Frost as well. So it's not just Frost versus Chillblaine, it's Frost and the Flash versus Chillblaine. Chillblaine was about to kill Barry as he was successful with his trap where he was able to freeze the Flash. So Barry is so cold to a point where he's unable to phase and warm himself up, kind of like what happened during season 5 episode 19 with Icicle. But then a blue streak of lightning stops Chillblaine and saves Barry. As this mystery speedster attempts to run away after saving the Flash and stopping Chillblaine, Barry runs straight after him, and he's able to keep up with his speed due to Barry being much faster than this mystery speedster, and we have this chase scene with them all across Central City. They're chasing everywhere from rooftops to roads, basically everywhere across Central City, and then we suddenly get this slow motion side by side scene where Barry sees this mystery speedster's face. Mystery Man panics and he attempts to run faster, and as he gets faster, a spark of white lightning bursts out from his blue speedster lightning. Barry doesn't see it, but the audience does. I guess you guys have an idea to where we are going with this. And also another thing we changed for episode 7, Frost does not get arrested. The episode ends with Team Flash gathered around in the Cortex, and the same scene that took place in the original version of episode 6, where Cisco tells Team Flash that Forza is the user of the Strength Force, Dion is the user of the Still Force, and Psyche is the user of the Sage Force. That forces reveal will take place during this scene. Episode 8, now titled Strength Force, opens with Cisco and Camilla in their apartment, where Cisco wakes up from a nightmare, which is the same nightmare he's experienced during episode 6 when Psyche gave him that nightmare. He tells Camilla he's ready to move on and leave Central City, and throughout the course of this episode, they carefully deliberate this decision, eventually agreeing on moving by the end of the episode. Team Flash then read reports of a mystery speedster. Barry and Cisco go to all of these past locations where there have been reports of a speedster saving people, which Barry knows isn't him. When they return after reaching continuous dead ends, Chester tries to run a facial recognition algorithm since Barry has seen his face, but the algorithm is out of luck. Cisco pulls out his book of villains binder and slams it on the table, and he suggests that they could possibly find the speedster in the binder, but Barry speed reads the binder to see if he could recognize the mystery man, but is unsuccessful. They are able to scan anyone's faces through the facial recognition algorithm, but they cannot find this person, which will be explained later on. Team Citizen find Alexa, and the same thing plays out during episode 8. So the first try, it fails, but the second time, Barry as the Flash tries to convince her, and then she accepts. We then have an extra scene where Cisco's device alerts a second trace of isotopic signature near Barry's location. People start screaming outside, and this is where Psyche appears. Barry confronts Psyche, where we find out that Psyche's main aim this time is to absorb all of the forces. Barry will then enter Flash time, and because he's in super speed, it takes time for Psyche's eyes to glow purple, thus preventing Barry or anyone from getting nightmares. Barry punches Psyche in Flash time, where he is thrown across the area and takes Alexa and runs to Star Labs. So within a blink of an eye, Psyche gets punched and Barry and Forza run away, which fills Psyche up with rage because he wasn't able to get what he wanted. As further investigation continues with this mystery speedster, temporal energy spouted off by this mystery speedster allows Team Flash to go on the trail to locate this person's whereabouts. They think it's Dion at first due to Cisco and Chester's previous encounter of a temporal energy user, so Barry brings Frost and Cisco to the crime scene, but see literally nobody in the streets where they find traces of temporal energy. They hear rustling by the trash can and see a person. They go and check on him, and Barry realizes that it's the mystery guy. The mystery guy begins to talk to Team Flash and explains that this place, meaning the cathedral, is somehow connected to him in a way, but he doesn't know how. The temporal energy release, which led to Team Flash being able to identify this mystery person, is due to him reconnecting with the cathedral. He does freak out like a fanboy when he sees the Flash because he is the one who inspired him to save people in previous episodes. Barry talks to him and asks him questions, but the mystery guy doesn't remember who he is, but feels drawn to the church. Team Flash suggests that this could be another Force user, perhaps a Speed Force user. The team offers to take this person to Star Labs to help with his memory loss condition, which then this person accepts. The mystery person is being examined by Caitlin, who is with Cecile, as they try to figure out what happened to this person, but they're out of luck. Cecile is able to use her powers, but she can only sense fear of someone who suffers from memory loss. As Caitlin waits for this mystery person's neurological analysis test results to come out to confirm a diagnosis, she heads over to the speed lab to assist Barry. We do still have the scene with Alexa and Barry in the speed lab, where Barry tries to help Alexa control her powers, but Forza busts out instead. So instead of the Speed Force attacking her over there, we're just gonna have Forza bust out, and she attacks Barry, Cisco, and Frost, and then jumps out of Star Labs. However, Psyche appears outside Star Labs, as he's able to sense the isotopic signatures of other Force users. Thus, he was easily able to track her down. Barry, Frost, and Cisco rush outside to check on Forza to find Psyche facing off against her. Psyche uses his tentacle powers to push Team Flash away and hold them at the wall of Star Labs, and find out that the tentacles are actually power dampening, so Barry cannot phase through them. Unable to move, the trio watch Psyche give Forza a nightmare and turns her back into Alexa, which results in Psyche murdering Alexa as the helpless team watch Alexa die in agonizing pain. The strength force energy floats out of Alexa's body and sucks into Psyche. Psyche retracts his tentacles, resulting into Flash becoming free. Barry immediately rushes at Psyche, attempts to hit him, but ends up breaking his knuckles and his wrist. Barry stops to question what happened, and Psyche punches the Flash, making him go flying across the ground, breaking his ribs. Barry is in pain. Cisco shoots a vibe blast at him, but it doesn't affect him at all. Frost shoots him with an ice blast at the same time, but it just breaks once it makes contact with Psyche. Psyche doesn't even break a sweat. He laughs and explains that he's absorbed the strength force and vanishes. The trio run to check on Alexa and find out that she is completely dead. We then cut to the title card and it goes to Caitlin and Cecile in the medbay and Mystery Man on the bed. Caitlin's neurological analysis test results show severe memory degradation, but his semantic memory cells are still intact. They're just inactive. She suggests that she gives this person a small dose of neurogenic dark matter, in which Mystery Person accepts. As Caitlin injects the neurogenic dark matter into this Mystery Person's body, Mystery Person forces himself to try and remember something, but he just can't. He just remembers one thing, and that's his name. His name is August. So we chose Blue Lightning for August Heart to not only throw off the audience from automatically thinking that this mysterious speedster is Godspeed, but also we made it so his velocity formula turns his lightning blue, just like every other formula. But as he runs faster, his lightning begins to turn Godspeed white instead. Now episode 9 is a totally different episode than the original. For us, episode 9 is titled Who Am I? The episode opens with Barry questioning August about why he's a time traveler and what he's doing in 2021. But August doesn't remember. All he remembers is his name and everything that happened once he arrived. Now Barry knows that he's a time traveler due to the temporal energy traces when they were able to track this speedster. August reveals that Barry inspired him to be a hero, where we flash back to episode 4 with more detail, where August watches Barry's speech and he becomes inspired with what Barry says. We have some training montages between the two in the speed lab. As that is happening, this is something which is gonna happen off screen, but Cisco and Camilla are looking for jobs outside of Central City, and we have the interview which Cisco has with the Cooper guy in Argus. There's one scene towards the end of the episode with them discussing their future and looking for jobs. We then have the two speedsters going around Central City stopping crimes as another montage. These include the following: random people robbing things, and then Goldface and Sterling Brooks having an arms deal. Goldface says that this weapon has a lot of metal, and then we have the two speedsters running into the scene, witnessing the arms deal. Goldface spots the two speedsters and says, "That's a lot of gold you have there, Flash." He levitates the Flash and throws him against the wall. August ends up stopping the deal. In the Cortex, Caitlin, after the test results fully came out, reveals that August does not have the Speed Force within him. He has no connection to the Speed Force, so he cannot be a wielder of the Speed Force, unless he's an artificial speed user. Chester mentions that although Barry doesn't give off isotopic signatures due to him rebirthing the Speed Force, the fact that this speedster, August Hart, has no connection to the Speed Force suggests that he cannot be the wielder of the Speed Force. Barry is the only option. Although Barry doesn't give off isotopic signatures when he runs, due to him rebirthing the Speed Force and being the main connector of the forces, he must be the Speed Force user since August Hart is not a natural speedster. There are then alarms of isotopic signatures. Chester checks where it is coming from and he finds that it's coming from Star Labs. Then Dion teleports in due to him sensing temporal energy a couple of hours earlier, but doesn't come straight away due to him seeing what Psyche did to Alexa, so he's afraid. Dion freezes everyone but Barry and August. They chat about the same stuff they did in the original episode 9, except any mention of Wells would be August. The chat differs from the original, and now Dion is talking about August being displaced through time and he is suspicious. Dion is about to blast August, but August uses his speed to run out of the way to the side of Dion. Without knowing what he's doing, he instantly releases a Godspeed sonic beam to pin Dion down. Barry is shocked to see what August just did and utters, "Godspeed?" This triggers a memory with August seeing a white and gold suited speedster. The memory stops. August is confused for a few seconds and then the beam stops. He says, "What did you say, Flash?" Dion gets up and snaps his fingers and teleports away, and everyone unfreezes. August and Barry are in shock, and the rest of Team Flash are confused to where Dion went, and they see that the two speedsters are looking shocked and confused. Barry sits down to process, and August asks him why he is shocked. Barry avoids the question and asks, "How did you do that?" August explains he doesn't know, but he had a moment and it happened. August continues to question why Barry is shocked, and Barry replies, "It doesn't matter, we need to find Dion," before Psyche gets to him first. Barry tells Chester to scan for isotopic signatures whilst August should try and work on his speed in the speed lab. August pretends to go to the speed lab but listens to the conversation between the team. Barry tells Team Flash about what August did while Dion froze them. He brings up that Godspeed could do the exact same thing they just saw August do, and that in Nora's journal, Godspeed's name is August Hart, when this person's name, which Barry has been training, is August. He carries on by saying that he's a time traveler, so that also points to August being Godspeed, since they're both from the future. However, Barry cannot figure out what August is doing in Central City due to August having his memory loss. Cisco brings up that Godspeed's lightning color is white, not blue, in which Caitlin responds that he could have just been using a velocity formula. Barry mentions past people who have tricked them, such as Thawne, Zoom, and even his own daughter, Nora, and says, "This is Godspeed, a villain we've been after for months, and he cannot be trusted. We need to know what he's actually doing here. We need to also find Dion alone. We do not get August involved." August overhears this and speeds off. After Chester is able to find Dion's location, Barry goes to the football field and convinces Dion to join their side. He agrees right when Psyche shows up. Psyche attacks Dion to try and absorb the still force. He flings Barry across the seats. His tentacles grab Dion, and Dion tries to pause time, but the tentacle dampens his abilities, so he can't. As Psyche is about to deliver the final blow to Dion, Barry screams "No!" and everything freezes around him. Barry realizes that he's entered flash time due to adrenaline and gets up. Before Psyche is able to kill Dion, Barry runs out to the football field and around the city and gains up enough velocity and runs back into the football field and performs a supersonic punch on Psyche. However, it doesn't affect Psyche physically, but the tentacles vanish, saving Dion. Barry goes flying across the stadium due to how powerful Psyche is with the strength force with him. Dion clicks his fingers and vanishes with Barry. Barry and Dion arrive back in Star Labs and Barry is confronted by August. August knows Barry is hiding something, but he asks Barry why he didn't bring him along to find Dion, in which Barry responds with, "I had it handled. You just need to go back to the speed lab and continue training until we find a way to bring your memories back." August doesn't like this response because he knows Barry is still hiding something and continues to ask him why Barry didn't want him in an aggressive tone. He says, "If you had it handled, then where's Psyche?" The argument continues and eventually leads to August speeding away. We then have a post-credit scene taking place between Cisco and Barry as they talk about August in Cisco's lab. When they walk away, August sneaks in and sits down at Cisco's computer. He looks through the files of Cisco's computer with a white-suited speedster, but he's out of luck until he remembers what Barry said when he released that sonic beam, Godspeed. As August searches Godspeed, he finds what he's looking for, the white-suited speedster he had a flashback of. It's Godspeed. As August looks at the monitor, we have a slow Godspeed theme playing as he sees the name of Godspeed, and it says, August Hart. Episode 10 is a totally different episode once again, and episode 10 is titled Face Your Fears Part 1. So this is the penultimate episode of the Forces storyline. Team Flash gather around to talk about recent events, not to trust August, and how to take down the Forces. After the ending scene of episode 9, August begins to further investigate this mysterious white speedster, Godspeed. He goes through multiple different metahuman files to try and find out who he really is. He comes across nothing besides what he already knows. 5 other Godspeeds wandering around Central City in the past, but August just doesn't remember. August comes across Cecile and explains everything to her, Barry avoiding him after he mentioned Godspeed, and he says, "I saw Barry's face when he saw me perform a move that I've never done before. He knows who I am. I heard him. August heart, it's true, isn't it? I'm a monster, aren't I? Imagine trying to get your memories, something you want the most, knowing that I'm supposed to be a dangerous bad guy. I've tried being a hero, but now that's all going to waste as Barry only sees me as the villain." You could see how shocked he was. I didn't mean it for it to be this way. As Cecile comforts August, she then goes to locate Barry and talks to him about sidelining August. Maybe the future isn't set in stone, she says. You can change August's future if you keep him with the team. Train him like you do with every other speedster, allow him to be a hero just like you. We then have the Joe and Kramer storyline continuing as normal, where Joe leaves CCPD due to Kramer's actions. Meanwhile, Cisco gets a notification that he has booked a job at Argus and Camilla has booked her photography job. They discuss how they're going to tell the rest of the team, but decide to put it off till later, as right now they need to focus on defeating Psych. While Iris and Barry are on multiple investigations to find out who Psych really is, one of the murder victims lead the trail right to Psych's identity, Bashir. Barry and Iris go back to Star Labs to inform the team on Psych's identity. The team discusses possible ways to defeat Psych, and Chester brings up the idea of draining the forces of him enough to be captured. Chester, Cisco, and Caitlin leave to start working on the device which dampens Force abilities, while Cecile, Barry, Dion, and Iris stay. They work on coming up with a game plan. Thinking that only Cecile would be there, August speeds into the room, and Cecile looks at Barry and nods at him, signaling him to apologize and not to be cautious. August realizes that Barry is there and apologizes and is about to speed off when Barry stops him. Barry apologizes and says that they're going to need all the help they can get to stop Bashir. The power suddenly shuts off and everyone hears the eerie voice of Psych in their head. "Hand over Dion or I will start attacking everyone you love, Flash. You have 1 hour." The power turns back on and Barry comes up with a plan to use Dion as bait. While Psych is distracted with Dion, this gives Team Flash enough time to take Psych down. August, Frost, and Flash team up together to take down Psych while Dion is distracting Psych. Cisco's device has not yet finished, so Team Flash has to go into the fight normally. They get an isotopic signature and Dion snaps and teleports everyone to the location, but drops Team Flash a little bit away from the location, so Psych thinks it's only Dion. Dion arrives at the location and no one is there. Then Psych walks around the corner while taunting Dion. Psych asks, "So your friends think that your life doesn't matter at all?" Very flattering to show how loyal they are. And Dion replies, "I don't need them." Psych laughs and says, "We'll see about that." He begins to throw objects at him using his powers, in which Dion is able to block them using his powers. Then the rest of Team Flash, Barry, Frost, and August run in and attack Psych. August uses his sonic beam power to pin Psych down onto the ground, and Barry knocks him out. Team Flash celebrates, but Barry is suspicious of how easy it was compared to the last fights. Firstly, how was he able to knock Psych out? And secondly, it was just much easier than before. Barry says, No, something's wrong. It was too easy." They're about to leave when Psych walks around the same corner. Psych made it look easy by using his illusion powers to make it look like they were fighting Psych, when in reality, Team Flash just defeated an illusion. August rushes at Psych, but he punches him back and knocks him out. The only thing saving August from this punch was his speed healing, or else he would have already been dead. Barry runs around Psych to attempt a lightning throw, but the lightning rebounds off Psych and hits Barry, making him fly back onto the ground. Frost is about to blast Psych when he uses his powers to throw a pole at her. Psych then uses his tentacles to pin everyone down and dampen their powers, and walks over Dion. It's been fun. 4 more tentacles come out of Psych's back and go straight into Dion's chest. "No!" Barry screams. Psych laughs as he absorbs the still force. "You're next, Flash." As Psych vanishes, Barry, Caitlin, and August are released, and they run over to Dion to find him dead. And that is the end of episode 10. Episode 11, now titled Face Your Fears Part 2, opens with Team Flash mourning Dion's death. Barry is especially upset as he thinks that it was his fault that Dion was killed. Barry asks why Psych didn't try and kill him after Dion, but Chester says he thinks that he needs time to absorb the forces and calm down before using his energy to absorb yet another force and going back into the field. Team Flash gather around in the Cortex to come up with a plan to stop Psych, especially after wielding all three forces: the Sage Force, the Still Force, and the Strength Force. Barry feels that the Speed Force is getting weaker, especially after Psych absorbed all three forces. An alarm blares and Chester goes to check what it is. Lightning struck a wall at Iron Heights and prisoners are on the loose. Mecha Vibe and Frost go to round them all up. Frost eventually runs into Chillblaine and have the fight, but the cheesy relationship stuff doesn't happen. It's strictly just an Ice Powers versus Ice Powers battle. The Joe storyline would also still continue as normal. While all of that is happening, Barry enters Cisco's lab to check on the progress with the device to drain Psych's abilities, because it won't be long before he comes after the Flash. He sees Chester frustrated as he has no idea how to get the device to work, as he says, "I don't know how we're going to win this one, we're on our own." Barry says that he, that being Chester, will find a way and that this machine will work despite Chester's concerns. Then the alarm starts blaring and August immediately runs into the room and says Psych is attacking downtown. Barry grabs his flash ring out of his pocket and they run downtown. As soon as they run in, they see Psych stab someone with his tentacles. Barry screams, "Psych!" He sees that Psych didn't even react to Barry yelling at him. Barry instructs August to run everyone away while he fights Psych. August is a little upset, but he does it anyway. Barry throws lightning at Psych, he supersonic punches him, and he even does the tornado hand, but nothing works. He then sees that Psych is about to kill another person, and he quickly enters Flash Time to save him. Barry starts to run at the person to save him, when Psych moves at the same speed as Barry due to the Still Force, and kills the civilian as Psych launches Barry back, making him fall onto the ground. "Psych, what did you do?" Barry yells. "I used the Still Force to slow you down, so I could keep up." Pretty fascinating what you can do when you have access to three forces of nature. Barry hears Chester over the comms saying that he's finished the device. Before he could even do anything, August already brought it to him. "You're getting faster," Barry says to August. August hands him the device and Barry charges at Psych, but Psych uses the Still Force to slow him down, and he slows August down as well. With Barry frozen, he uses his tentacles to stab Barry. He begins to extract the Speed Force when the device that Barry is holding shoots out two darts. But Psych spots them, and right before they can hit him, he vanishes. The Speed Force re-enters Barry's body as he falls onto the ground, and August checks on him. Feeling weak, Barry says that he needs to rest. August runs him back to Star Labs. Barry gets onto the med bay and Caitlin examines him. She sees a significant decrease in Speed Force energy in Barry's system. Caitlin advises Barry to rest, just to wait for the Speed Force to heal, but Barry cannot do that. Psych is on the loose and they need to catch him. August then runs in and tells the team that they need to go to the lounge now. Barry grabs Chester and they run into the lounge. Iris, Caitlin, Chester, Cecile, Joe, August, and Barry are in the lounge. They see Cecile sitting down with her hands on her head. "What's happening?" Barry asks. "She's picking up all the fear that Psych is emitting onto the city. She's feeling all of it," says August. "What fear?" Barry asks. August shrugs. Cecile scrambles into the corner and starts shaking. "Well, we need to do something," exclamates Barry. Iris gets reports on her phone saying that Psych is knocking buildings over. She tells the team and that there have been thousands of casualties and hundreds injured. They need to do something quick. "We were just fighting him. When did he start?" Barry asks. "A couple of minutes ago," Iris replies. Then they all hear the voices in their heads. It's from Psych. "Surrender yourself, Barry. Your sacrifice is necessary. It's one person for millions in return. You have 10 minutes. On Chester's tablet, he gets an isotopic signature in Infantino Street. "How much speed do you have?" August asks. "Enough," Barry replies. "I think I have enough to take Psych down." They nod and August grabs the device and they speed out of the room. They arrive in the park and see Psych standing up on the top stair. "Good choice, Flash," says Psych, "except we don't need the wannabe Flash, just you." Barry nods to August and he runs off. Barry says, "Get it over with, Bashir," in which Psych laughs as he says, "Gladly, Flash." Psych stabs Barry with his tentacles and the Speed Force slowly floats out of Barry's body. It is slower than the other forces due to it being the strongest. Barry screams in agonizing pain while Psych smiles. "Take your final good look at the city, Flash," says Psych. Then, August zooms up to Psych and is about to stab him with the device and inject him when Psych stops him with the Steel Force. Nice trick. Psych punches August away and gives him a nightmare. Barry is trying his hardest to resist Psych's hold but is unable to move. As the Speed Force slowly leaves his body, he can feel himself getting weaker and weaker. He begins to think about his friends and family: Iris, Joe, Cisco, Wally, Caitlin, Cecile, Chester, and even Oliver Queen, August, J. Garrick. He then focuses on Jay. He remembers something that he once told him: "We're not gods, we are men, who for whatever reason we've been given extraordinary abilities." He realizes that he has grown from a man with extraordinary abilities into something more. He realizes the power that he holds and his entire body sparkles with electricity. He begins to fight back against Psych's hold, and to his surprise, it works. Psych is shocked to see Barry use his powers when he is dampening them and taking them from him. Then, the Speed Force begins to quickly be sucked back into Barry's body. Once it's all in, Barry phases out of Psych's tentacle, runs over and grabs the device from August's unconscious body. He begins to use it on Psych. We then cut to the point of view of August's heart as he's in the nightmare. It is airy and creepy. August sees a blast flying towards someone. He speeds in and saves them. This is a parallel to how Barry saved him in episode 4. However, the person shrugs it off and pushes August away, showing zero gratitude. Then hundreds of people coming swarming in and pushing him over, and walking on top of August. This is a reflection of what he fears the most in real life. There is a flashback to him listening in on Barry's conversation where he says, "This is Godspeed, a villain we have been after for months, and he cannot be trusted." He is standing in the middle of an empty street with a church on the side. He feels drawn to the church, so he goes in and he hears whispers in the cathedral. He walks in and sees nothing except one big throne sitting in the middle of the room. He feels even more drawn to the throne due to the whispers calling him towards it, stating, "Face your true destiny, August. Become more than these weak humans will ever deserve. Become something more powerful than you could ever imagine. Allow yourself to make a difference for once. You are a god, the god of speed." He sits down on the throne and immediately gets a flashback to his life, gaining all of his memories again, becoming the main villain again from before he even got stuck in the past. He looks at his hands and now is fully charged up with white lightning, no traces of blue in his sight. He becomes Godspeed again. Then the nightmare ends. We don't see August for a minute or two, and the focus switches to Barry. Barry is fighting Psych and is using the device to drain Psych from his powers. But Psych is able to knock him over and gives Barry a nightmare. Barry's in the nightmare and he sees all of Central City in the ruins from Godspeed. Scared and worried, Barry tries to overcome his fear but is unable to work. Then suddenly, the nightmare cuts off. Barry falls down to the ground, exhausted. He hears wheezing behind him, so he quickly turns around to see August's heart with a phasing hand through Psych's chest. "August, what did you do?" "I won, Flash. People will hear me now," August replies. August rips his hand out of Psych's chest and throws Psych to the ground. "There we go, Flash. I stopped the bad guy. Proud of me?" says August. "You killed him. Heroes don't do that, August," Barry says. "Oh, Flash, I was never the hero to begin with. No one cares about heroes. People do heroic and courageous actions every day and they don't get featured on the news. But if someone was to kill someone or create an attack on the city, now they'd be heard. Now people wake up and pay more attention for once, and I'm done being ignored. I've escaped my destiny for far too long." "There are other ways to make a difference, August," replies Barry. "But I've tried that, Barry, and I'm done with it. There is nothing you can do to stop the God of Speed now." "You got your memories back, didn't you?" Barry asks. August smirks and runs off past Barry, but in doing so, flings Barry to the side due to the wind of him running so fast. Barry recovers and immediately follows. They chase around the city, running through buildings, smashing windows with their speed. Eventually, Barry cuts August off, and they roll across the ground. They get up, but August pins Barry to the ground with sonic beams. He tries to escape, but can't. "This isn't you, August." "You don't know me," replies August. "I do, August. You're a good man. You've saved countless amount of lives. Don't just let that all go to waste." "That wasn't me, Flash. You know that." "No, I don't. I've seen the way you care about these people. All that love and care was genuine." August chuckles. I am not who you think I am. Give up on me already. This is pathetic. Let me show you who I really am. August throws his hands into the air. White lightning comes down from the clouds and onto his hands. The lightning then surrounds August and then dissipates to reveal a white suit. It's Godspeed. You knew all along, Flash, and you still decided to help me. How naive. You were all caught up in your idiotic fantasies to realize the truth. Now you will pay. Godspeed stops pinning Barry down with the sonic beams, and then, while Barry is about to move, he begins to extract the speed out of Barry. August, screams Barry, don't do this. It's too late, Flash. The deed is gone. I'll see you soon, Flash. Very, very soon. And when I return, you will give me what I want, says August right as he speeds off. Exhausted, Barry immediately speeds after him. He tries to keep up, but with the loss of his speed, which August extracted off him, he was too slow. He couldn't even catch up. Godspeed zooms away as Barry halts to stop and falls to the ground, feeling betrayed and is filled with pain and agony. He trusted someone again, and that someone betrayed him once more. Barry then heads back to Star Labs to the Cortex and falls straight to the ground. Frost and Mecha Vibe just arrived back as they rounded everyone up except Chillblaine, who managed to escape. Frost turns into Caitlin as Joe, Caitlin, Cisco, and Chester carry Barry into the medbay. What happened? Caitlin asks. He was attacked by Psyche, and Godspeed, replies Chester. What? Questions Caitlin. I'll fill you in later, just help him, says Chester. Barry begins to have seizures due to all of the changes to his speed force. Caitlin sedates him and calms him down. A couple of hours later, Barry wakes up and feels fine. Chester scans the city for temporal energy, but cannot locate anything. Cisco and Camilla tell the rest of the team that they are planning on moving and have been waiting on Psyche to be defeated to tell them. They are all overly happy with the news, to Cisco's surprise. How they deal with this news is explored further in next episode, that being Goodbye Vibrations. Barry goes back to the loft with Iris and they decide to make a baby, except it wasn't inspired by the forces. We then have an ending scene where we have a flashback to a couple of hours ago when Godspeed and the Flash were fighting, but this is from the point of view as it is revealed that Chillblaine was watching what was happening and he notices Flash's weakness is him losing his speed. So yeah, this is our version of The Flash Season 7 Forces storyline. I apologize for it being very, very long, but hopefully you guys like it. I will put timestamps in the description down below if you guys want to skip episodes, but I don't recommend you doing that because I think that we've made a really great story over here which you guys would enjoy. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Be sure to tell me in the comment section down below if you guys enjoyed what we put out for you. And yeah, I will see you guys with part 2, the Godspeed storyline.